All right, Vermont housing market update, November 2025. What is going on in the Vermont housing market? Well, subjectively speaking, I am pretty busy. I currently have 5 properties that are under contract and will be closing in the next 6 weeks or so. I have 2 listings on the market, 3 more, potentially 4 more coming to the market here in the end of November or early December. And I have about 5 to 10 buyers who are out there looking, 5 buyers who are seriously looking, want to purchase properties, and 5 other buyers who are looking, but they're not quite as serious as the other buyers. So there's a lot of activity that I'm experiencing subjectively in the housing market, and we're seeing that reflected in the data. Pending sales are way up. We have closed transactions way up year over year. Inventory is up year over year, but the market is slowing. Similar to last month, homes are selling for under list price on average, wherever you are in Vermont. The state of Vermont, homes are selling at around 95% of original list price. That's either through a price reduction, and then these sellers are getting closer to the price that they're offering after that reduction, or it's through buyers negotiating while the home is on the market and the sellers haven't dropped their price. So on average, properties are selling for under list price. That being said, I am still seeing properties sell for over list price. Last week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, I submitted an offer with some clients of mine, and there were 3 offers on the property. So, there you can find yourself in a multiple offer situation. People are out there buying, but because there's more inventory in the market, buyers have more options, and we're seeing sellers and buyers negotiate to make deals and transactions happen. Gone are the days of listing your property, getting multiple offers, selling for well over list price. That's not the case for most sellers here in the state of Vermont. In this video, we're going to talk about how to sell your property in this slowing market and how to negotiate a good deal if you're a buyer out there looking to purchase a property. Now, before we get into the data here, my name is Liam O'Reilly. I'm a realtor with Geri Reilly Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs, reach out to me directly. I would be happy to help you. All of my contact information is in the description below. Okay, let's jump over to the market stats. Okay, so taking a look at the data here, we're looking at median sales price for single family homes across the state of Vermont. As a reminder, I don't like to look at condos and single family homes when we're talking about statewide data, because Vermont has a lot of ski condos, and in my opinion, they behave a little differently than year-round home sales and the year-round condo market. So we just exclude condos when we're looking at the statewide data. You can see here that median sales price is up about 5% year over year, but it's virtually unchanged. Where it's at 435,000 for the month of October, slightly below the all-time high of 460, but virtually unchanged over the past year or so. We've seen more inventory come to the market. Prices are high, interest rates are high, affordability, it's tough for buyers to afford properties right now. But at the same time, more listings are hitting the market. So there's more competition. We haven't seen buyers fall off a cliff. There are still buyers out there purchasing properties, and we see that reflected in the pending sales data. So we see new pending sales are up 7% year over year. So more buyers are putting homes under contract. And I think that's a result of more inventory on the market. When we take a look at active inventory across the state, we're at about 2020 levels statewide. October of 2020 is the last time we saw this 2000 number as far as active inventory. So there's more inventory than what we've seen over the past few years. And that gives buyers more options and allows them to negotiate on their purchase price. So buyers are taking advantage of this. The people who were frustrated from trying to shop for a home over the past few years with how competitive things were, that they may have missed out on a property or 2 properties or 10 properties because they were competing with other buyers for the limited inventory out there. Those buyers are coming back and they're purchasing properties, they're negotiating with sellers, and they're achieving their goal of actually buying a property. Rents here in Vermont are still very high. So even though home prices are high and mortgage rates are high, oftentimes it does make sense to purchase a property here in Vermont. Again, not for everybody, not at every price point, but life happens. People want to purchase properties, and we're still seeing homes move more than we saw last year. So, active inventory up about 15% compared to last year. And again, that's driving the slowing and the cooling in the housing market that we're seeing. We're not seeing a housing market crash. You can clearly see that from the median sales price data, home prices are not falling, but the pace of sales is much slower. We take a look at percentage of original list price received. So homes across the state of Vermont are selling for around 94%, 95% of original list price. So that's about a 5% discount. If we take a look at the median sales price or the median price property, we call it 400,000. That's about $20,000 off the median price property. Now, this is original list price received. So that means that some sellers are listing their property high, reducing it maybe by 5%, maybe by 20,000, and then they're selling for that new reduced price. Others are keeping their properties high or listing it high and just negotiating about 5% off. And again, this is not every single property. That's why looking at the comparable properties, seeing what the recent sales are is really important when you go to make a purchase or when you go to list your home, because that's what both buyers and sellers are using to price their property. So that's how you can tell if a property is overpriced, underpriced, whether you're getting a good deal or whether you are overpaying. Now, on the buy side, one way that I like to think about comparables and what I talk about with my clients is that the comparables that you look at, these are similar to properties that will hit the market in the coming months. So you take a look at the property that you're considering buying and you say, oh, wow, that looks overpriced compared to these comparables. Well, it might be worth waiting a month or 2 months or 3 months for a property that hits the market at a similar price to where these comparables are, because that's what the market is telling us these properties are transacting at. So in the future, in the spring, or as time goes on, there will likely be more sellers around the price that these comparables say. So as opposed to overpaying for a property, it might be worth waiting out for those comparables. And that's a good perspective to know if you're a seller out there. This is how agents are coaching their buyers. This is what's going through buyers' heads as they're walking through your property. And you want to be thinking about, how does my home compare to the other recent sales or to the other properties that are on the market that these buyers may be looking at? Now, we take a look at Chittenden County data specifically. We're taking a look at the original list price received. We see Chittenden County, again, still less than 100% of list price on average here in Chittenden County, but much closer to that 100% mark. Now, active inventory, relatively speaking, is much higher in Chittenden County than the rest of the state. Active inventory is at the highest levels we've seen since November of 2019. So 382 listings in November of 2019. At the end of October, we were at 377 listings. I expect that number to drop off once we get November's data, because many sellers decide to take their properties off the market and wait until spring if their home isn't selling. That's a common strategy that people do around here. So active inventory tends to drop off and new listings tend to drop off as we roll into the winter months. We take a look at the pending sales numbers here. Pending inventory up about 16% in Chittenden County. So again, homes are selling for under list price, but a lot of properties are going under contract. There are still buyers out there. There's more inventory for these buyers to choose from, and they're taking advantage of it. Homes are going under contract. I don't think if you're a seller right now, you shouldn't be afraid to sell your property because the market is cooling. It's still a good time to sell. And we see that in the median sales price, similar to the statewide data. We're at 525, just shy of our 550 all-time high. But again, virtually unchanged from a year ago. We've been floating around the 500 to 550 mark for about a year. So we're not seeing a drop in median sales price by any means. Let's take a look at some of the other data here. So what I wanted to look at was how many properties are selling for over list price, to give you an idea of the percentage of sellers that are lucky enough to get multiple offers and sell their home for more than what they had it listed for. So only about a third of sellers, less than a third of sellers are in Chittenden County are selling for over list price. Statewide, I imagine that data is going to be even smaller. So statewide, yeah, about 20%, give or take. 1 out of every 5 sellers is lucky enough to get multiple offers and sell for over list price. These tend to be properties that are priced very attractively. They tend to be homes that are very rare, like maybe a nice, charming old property that has been well kept and is nicely renovated and is priced appropriately. You can have a beautiful property that's very rare, but if you overprice it, you're still run the risk of sitting on the market, becoming a stale listing, and selling for well under what it should have sold for because the home sat on the market for a significant period of time. So, to wrap up what I'm seeing here in November, the market is still moving. We're still seeing properties transact every single day. I myself am fairly busy, which is uncharacteristic for this time of the year, but there are buyers out there, there are sellers out there. People are still purchasing and selling properties. So, like I say always, it's important not to overprice your property. You don't want to be that stale listing that sits on the market and starts getting offers for 10 to 20% under where you have it listed for. You want to take a look at the comps, list your property appropriately, and hopefully be one of those sellers in that 20 to 30% range that gets more than what they listed the property for. Now, on the buy side, it's still a great time to go out there and get a good deal. There are homes that have sat on the market for a handful of weeks, a handful of months, sellers who need to sell their property. Those people are negotiable. Now, what I'm finding is that if the comps say the property should be priced where it's listed at, the sellers are much less negotiable than if the property is, overpriced. Obviously, if the property is overpriced, some sellers, they want to stick to that price, but many sellers, if it's overpriced and they want to sell, they're willing to come down significantly. But if the property is priced accurately compared to comparable sales, you may still be able to negotiate some money off of that list price, but sellers are sticking to their guns to some extent. They're taking a look at the comparables as well, and you can't get 20 to 30% off every property, but as we saw in the data here, around 5% is reasonable depending on how long the home has sat on the market. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck with your home purchase and sales here in Vermont, and of course, reach out to me directly if you have any questions or would like me to help you.